Watch out yourself.
What'd you figure I was, a squirrel?
When Zack comes down out of that tree, he's first going to find a friend and then some trouble. We'll come back to him in a moment. But now I'd like you to meet some friends of mine who are here in the studio to watch Breakthrough with you. They are Debbie Gaunt, Tom Stotler, Carol Jones, and Steve Spratt. And I'm Gene Atkins. In a little while, we're going to interrupt the story, and the five of us here in the studio will talk about it, then we'll see the ending. But for now, let's return to that boy who's up a tree. Are you all set?
Mm-hmm.
My name's Buck Fuller. I live over there.
Mine's Zack Daly. They call me Zack. I was just fixing up a swing for the kids.
I saw you moving in yesterday. All those kids belong in this house?
Shucks, there ain't but 5 of us.
Gee, whole basketball team.
Not quite. A couple of them turned out to be girls.
I guess you just moved in from the country. A lot of folks been moving in lately.
Yep.
Boy, I bet you're glad. Getting into town, I mean.
Don't reckon as I am.
Mean you like it out in the sticks? No movies or drugstores or anything?
I don't go for movies and drugstores. I'd rather hunt and fish. You ever hunt squirrels, Buck?
Gee, I never hunted anything except lost baseballs.
My father taught me how. You take 2 quarters or $half, and you tap them together just like this. Sounds just like a squirrel barking. You got 2 quarters or halves, Buck?
I don't even have 2 pennies.
I don't either. Sure makes it hard to practice.
Practice doesn't help me with this thing.
I've never seen a slingshot made like this.
My shots keep going off to the side.
What we need is a 4th branch. Let's see what we can find.
There's some back here.
Bunch who moved next door. There are dozens of them. Cindy and I nearly died. We were standing there and this girl, Beulah Jane, came out.
How many children, Ann?
Can't count them. They're like bees. Anyway, this girl came out and asked us where the ice house was. Cindy said, for what? And she said for the ice box. Can you imagine? They don't even have an electric refrigerator.
Well, give them a chance.
I heard Daddy say this part of town is really going to pot. The way the country people are moving in to work in the mills.
I don't suppose you can blame them. Must be getting hard making a living in the hills.
So they moved to town. But why next to us?
Now, Ann, you don't know anything about them. They're probably good people. They're just, well, different, that's all.
Boy, are they different.
I do hope they keep their yard up. My father's worked so hard on this place. He'd break his heart if he had messy people next door.
You talking about the new neighbors? That boy's real smart. His name is Zack. Zachariah.
Zachariah?
It's no worse than Buckley.
Buck, you see the mother?
Mrs. Daly? Yeah, I saw her. Mom, look what Zack whittled me.
What's she like?
I don't know what she's like. Like anybody else, I guess. Say, Mom, Zack goes hunting with a real gun. And he's going to teach me how to call squirrels.
I don't know that I approve of hunting. It's dangerous.
Not if you know what you're doing. Out in the country, practically everybody goes hunting. Zack says,
trust you to go barging over to people we don't know anything about. I saw that Zack. He doesn't even wear shoes.
Well, it's summer, isn't it? Besides, who likes shoes? Oh, and I said they could go to church with us on Sunday, okay?
Well, I don't know.
Are you crazy? They'll probably wear overalls and dresses made out of flour sacks.
Oh, you act like they're from outer space or something.
Yeah, well, they just might be. They're certainly not in the same orbit as us.
Buck, maybe we should wait a while until we see what they're really like,
But what has that got to do with them going to church with us?
Maybe they don't even go to the same church we do. Did you ask them what religion they have?
What do you mean?
Well, up in the hills, there's some little churches that are kind of different. I mean, they're not at all like ours.
All I said was they could go with us.
Buck, it doesn't matter to me how people dress and all. Things like that are certainly not important, but, well, I think we should be careful who we get mixed up with. Don't you see?
I guess I don't. But, Mom, I can't unask them, can I?
Well, I suppose I'll have to go over there. I wish you'd waited, Buck.
But you called on the Allens when they moved in across the street.
That was different, Buck. They're our kind of people. Oh, I'm Mrs. Fuller.
You know, it's real neighborly of you to come over. I met your son, Buck. He's a fine boy.
Yes, he told me he'd met you.
My, I never would have thought town would be this hot. I don't know what we're ever going to do with all this stuff. The house is so little and there's so many of us. I was telling Lester, that's my husband, I guess we ought to build a little shed out back for either the young'uns or the junk.
A shed? Oh.
Oh, my goodness, what am I doing keeping you here like this? Come on in out of the heat.
No, I can't really. I only had a minute. I left my ironing.
Your boy told me about church. It sure is good to go with somebody.
Beulah Jane, what's the matter in there?
Zack, what are Josh and Freddie crying about?
It's all right, Ma. Kids just had a little trouble outside, that's all.
They just can't get used to it here. Back home, we had a whole hill for them to be turned loose on. They don't know how to live in just a house and yard. I sure hope they won't be a bother to you folks.
Yes, I guess it is different here. Well, Mrs. Daly, what I wanted to tell you is that sometimes we just don't make it to church on Sunday. I mean, sometimes we just don't get organized on Sunday. But it's easy to find if we don't make it. You just go right along without us.
Well, I don't know. We passed it coming in. It seems awful big.
That's okay, Ma. It's not that big.
Well, I've got to get back to my ironing. Goodbye.
I wish she'd stayed a while. She seemed awful nice.
Don't you get it, Mom? They don't want to take us to church or any place else. They're not the only ones like that either. That's why the kids were crying. Some guys were outside teasing them, calling them hicks.
It's just a word that some folks use sometime. They probably didn't mean anything by it. We are different, son. It'll maybe take a while for folks to get used to us.
I'm not so sure I want to get used to them.
Now, Zack, you don't know them yet. We have to try to be good neighbors.
Are you and Dad going to church this morning, Mom?
Well, not today, Buck. I really don't feel too well. I'm getting a headache. Your Dad's had a hard week. He needs to rest.
But what am I going to tell the Dalys?
Oh, tell him anything. Tell him something came up.
Like you got a headache on the day they moved in?
Buckley Fuller, that will do. I told you what to say. Tell him something came up.
All right, Mom. We gonna play ball this afternoon?
Sure. I'll get the gang together and bring them by after church. Say, Buck, how'd you get lucky as to draw hicks for neighbors? Did you get acquainted yet?
I saw you over there getting acquainted with those little Daly kids.
We didn't hurt them. We were just having some fun.
Fun? Teasing kids half your size? You ought to have your ears pinned back.
You want to do it, maybe?
Oh, you're just a big bully.
What's got into you?
You won't even go to church with the Dalys. Now you're fussing about picking on them.
Going to church with him is a different thing entirely.
Hurry up, everybody. We don't want to keep them waiting. Do I look all right, son?
Yeah, sure. You look fine, Mrs. Daly.
Are you folks about ready?
Well, Ann already went with somebody else. Mom and Dad said they couldn't make it today. Mom said something came up. I'm sorry, Mrs. Daly. Maybe next Sunday.
Golly. Hot. I'm starved.
Won't be long. How was church?
Well, the Dalys were there in full force. All 5 kids and Mama and Papa. Mother, you wouldn't believe that hat Mrs. Daly had on. It was kind of pitiful. She must have known it didn't look right. She kept fidgeting.
Did Buck sit with him?
Yeah, he sat with him. And once the baby crawled over him to get into Beulah Jane's lap, Buck looked like he was going to die. But the worst thing was when Mr. Daly came out with this big amen you could hear across the street. Honestly, right in the middle of the sermon.
That's an old custom. I haven't heard anybody amen since I was a child. Used to sort of like it.
Some of the kids snickered. Beulah Jane turned all red and she looked like she was going to cry. Even some of the grown-ups laughed. Mother, if it were us that were different, would people laugh at us that way?
Well, I guess it would depend on what kind of people they were.
How'd you like church, Ma?
Well, wasn't like the one back home. I didn't know the songs. And Pa. He shouldn't have amened like that. They don't do it here. Well, we'll learn, I reckon.
Learn what? How to act like that Ringo fella? Or those guys that laughed at us? What's wrong with us now?
There's a heap of different folks in the world, son. We have to get along with them. The Bible says we must love our neighbors.
Does that mean we have to lick their boots? Are we trash or something?
Now you listen to me, Zack. We never have been trash, and we're not now. Your pa's as good a man as ever lived. And don't you ever forget it.
There was some bunch you were at church with this morning, Buck.
What do you care who I went to church with?
Oh, I didn't say I cared. You just looked funny coming out of there, that's all.
Yeah, what's so funny about the way I look? You don't look so hot yourself.
He doesn't even know what looks funny. He must be a hick lover. Oh, Buck's turned hick lover. I was there. It was a ball.
Amen, brother. Amen. Oh, cut it out, will you? Zack's okay. He even goes hunting all by himself.
Uh-huh. Now, ain't that something? Y'all gonna hunt possums up Main Street? That Zack won't be able to lean over and pick him up if he don't get some bigger britches. Rip. I guess Buck doesn't want to play ball with us anymore. Come on.
Hey, what's the big idea, Ringo? It's not your ball team.
Well, Buck seems to want to be friends with his new neighbors, but it looks like it's going to cost him his old friends if he is. What do you think he'll do about it?
Well, I think he'll get his old friends to be friends with their new neighbors so they can all play together and everybody be happy.
Who do you think in this picture is really different?
To Zack, I think that Buck is different, and to Buck, Zack is different. So everybody's different.
I don't think they're different. I think they understand each other, and the other boys are really different.
I don't think they're different either. I think it's just their ways that are different, not... They're all people, and they should all understand, just because he came from a farm and they had lived in the city maybe all their lives, that they should treat him as if they were friends and he had lived there for the city. Just he had to get acquainted to their ways.
Well, people are people, and everybody's different. Nobody's the same way. Like, nobody looks alike or nobody talks alike. Buck and Zack are just different in habits. I mean, not people. They're just different by the way they act and speak and all, but really, they're the same people inside, and that's about all. They're both friends, and it doesn't count by your looks or how you talk. It's well, how you are.
Perhaps underneath them there's some basic agreement between these people they haven't discovered. Where do you think they might find some similarities?
Zack and the other boy, they both wanted to make friends, but they just couldn't because of the other people in the town. Or they could, but some of the people in the town didn't like it.
Well, the people didn't want to let the people make friends with them because they didn't want to mix with them.
Well, why do you suppose they didn't want to mix with them?
Well, they thought they were different or something, or they were maybe a little bit poor because they had so many more children than other people.
Do you think this is a good reason for not mixing with people?
No, I don't think it is at all. I think that because they are like that they should try and make friends, not to say, well, they're not like us. They don't have money like we have, and I think that they should go over and make friends, their whole family, not just the mother go over and say, as she acted, as if she had to go over because of what Buck did.
Everybody's different in the world. You can learn something from them, and they can learn something from you.
Go ahead.
even your best friends are different from you, and so why not have a new neighbor be different? Because, well, it's just like when your new friend is different, and your best friend's different too. No one's the same.
Have you ever had some new neighbors move into your area?
Mm-hmm.
How did you treat them?
Well, our new neighbors, they're building a house just right next door right now, and, well, we already knew them, so we treated them just like regular people, but...
You already knew them, so you treated them like regular people.
No, I would have treated them even if I've never seen them in my life before.
Have any of you had any neighbors move in that you didn't know at all before, or that seemed a little different when they came in?
I have, and they did seem a little different, but when we finally... Well, we got to know them real well because, well, they were just nice people, and most people I know are, in fact, almost all of them. And they were nice.
You say they were a little different.
They weren't different in any... No, they weren't different. I didn't mean that.
I lived in the country for a couple of years, and I guess we were the ones that were different because I lived in the city most of my life, and then when we moved back to the country, everybody thought we were so strange because we wore different clothes and had different customs.
If you lived in this town, would you want to get acquainted with Zack and his family?
I would.
You would? Why?
I would like to get acquainted with them. They seem to be friendly and nice. That's why I'd want to.
Well, they were trying to make friends, but the people wouldn't let them because they thought they were different and, well, hicks, like they said. And I don't think that was so right. Well, they should try to understand the people, and that woman was trying so hard to make friends
and the other lady just didn't accept her as one of them, like she says. I don't think it was nice the way the woman, Buck's mother, said that she had a headache just because she didn't want to go to church with him and say, well, make up some excuse. I think if I were Buck, that I'd try and convince my mother that it was wrong to do that, because as it says in the Bible, that all men are created equal, and just because they have different ways than us, they're not better, or we're not better than them.
Debbie, what did you think that word hick meant?
Well, hick means sort of, I think they thought it meant country people, but usually it means hillbillies, and I don't think that's right either, to call them hillbillies, because really nobody's a hillbilly just because they live different and they're poor, and because some people just can't accomplish things that other people do.
If you had your choice and you could choose your friends, would you want them all to be just alike?
No. It'd
Why?
be sort of boring. You know, everybody do the same thing. I like to mix in with people that you can learn something from and learn more of their ways, not have everybody do the same thing and say, well, this is what we do, and they say, oh, well, we do the same thing, and call out being boring. Everybody was the same size, and it'd be funny everywhere you turn. You see somebody that looks just like you or somebody else, you couldn't tell them apart, and get boring. And if you have somebody that is different from you, then you can learn new things instead of just doing old ones over and over. Like when we were having a little panel before, Sam said that a teacher of his kept telling jokes over and over, so one of the students bought him a joke book, tell new jokes.
Didn't want to hear the same old joke. If you were in a community and a stranger moved in, how would you go about smoothing over the differences that people felt?
I'd try and learn. It depends on what kind of people they were. If they were from farm, I'd try to learn what they did on the farm so I could know a little more about how they work, what their jobs were, what their customs were.
How would you help them to get along with the people that didn't think they liked them?
I'd treat them just like anybody else and try to just look over their differences and ask them about the games they play or something so it'd make them feel more at home. And if I want one of my friends to meet them, I'd just ask them to see how you like them and then tell me, what they thought of them, and not treat them mean, but see how they are at first, instead of judging them before you know them.
But suppose your friends objected.
Well, then I said if you don't want to make friends, don't make friends, but a nice kid or a nice person.
When I was in college, I had a roommate who came from Persia. At first, I thought he'd be quite different from me, but it turned out we were very close friends. Have you ever had such an experience?
Well, I had from a man at camp. He's 25. He was going to college in Boston University at our Camp Aldersgate, the Methodist camp, and he came down. His father is a minister in southern Rhodesia, where he grew up over in Africa, and I thought he'd be a lot different, but he looked just like everybody else, except a little more tan, because he's out in the sun all day.
My best friend is a Negro, and we always play together, and we've been in the same room at school for 2 years, and we just enjoy being together.
Did it seem like you were different when you started out?
Well, yeah, at the first, but not for long. He's a real nice guy.
What is it that what makes you not feel that you're different?
I don't know.
It's not the color of their skin that counts. He's awful friendly, and by the way he talks, he must be friendly, and if he didn't see the color of his skin, he'd be just like anybody else. I mean, friendly, unless...
Well, he is anybody else right now.
Buck is faced with a real difficult choice. Let's go back and see what he really does.
Hey, wait a minute, Ringo. I can't help who moves in next door to me, can I?
Changed your mind, huh? Well, we don't like hicks, see? And we don't like hick lovers.
Who says I'm a hick lover?
I say it.
Come on, Ringo!
Ringo.
Well,
Well, if it isn't the hick himself.
Your name wouldn't be Ringo, would it?
What about it?
Just that that's the name my little brothers came home with yesterday. They were kind of muddied up. You that Ringo?
Sure. I was doing them a favor. Being from the sticks, I thought they might be lonesome for some mud.
Look, we're from the country, all right. That doesn't mean we're not just as good as anybody else. And that doesn't mean we can be pushed around either.
Seems to be a hot wind blowing in from the country.
We got bullies up in the hills, too. And anytime you want to start anything, you just go ahead. I'll do my best to see you don't finish it. And the next time you beat up my little brothers, I'll do the starting. You got that straight, Ringo?
Come on, Sam. I've had enough of this country air.
You got that straight, Ringo?
Yeah.
Good, then let's drop it.
What'd you put in for? I don't need anybody to do my fighting for me.
Neither do I.
All right. So who wants to play ball anyway? Let's go in and see if my mom will give me some coins for your squirrel call.
You take one coin, you put it in your hand like this. Then you tap it with the other one. Sounds just like a squirrel barking. Well, almost like a squirrel barking.
Let me try it.
Here. That's it. Tap right in the center. Louder, though, and faster. You're learning fast. You're learning real fast.
Here, you try it again.
Mom, where are you going?
I'm going over to welcome our new neighbors.
But I thought you said...
I know what I said, and I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, wait a minute. I'll go over and get acquainted with Eula Jane. Maybe she'll let me call her Jane.
I don't suppose we know how many prejudices we have, nor how many friends we might have had if we were not so prejudiced. I want to say so long and thanks to Debbie, Tom, Carol, and Steve for being with us this week. And I'll be seeing you again next week on Breakthrough.